All right, everyone. Well, so excited to be here with you today and excited to be going live to share with you all about Sarah Lascano, who is someone that I met at the Annie Appleseed Conference. So, this is all about if you think about this idea of energy, today we're going to be talking about the power of energy, which is something that is so frequently untapped overall. So, Sarah, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. And will you share a little bit about your background?
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here. I'm so excited for our conversation. Every time we start talking, we can't stop. So it's going to be fun. I am a biofield therapist, but I didn't start that way. I started in engineering. I have some medical experience. I came from a very scientific household of lawyers and doctors. And my health crashed when I was pregnant with my first child, and I had to figure out how to find some answers, and doctors didn't have any. They really didn't have any solutions for me. And so I set off on a journey to find answers, and I had to look outside the box that I had always looked in. And so that's really how I stumbled upon energy medicine, informational medicine, and it revolutionized our health very quickly. And I really became passionate about sharing this information. So I'm really excited to talk more about it tonight.
Oh, Sarah, I love that so much. So let's go back to a little bit because we actually have a local hometown connection. And that is you actually spent some time here in Atlanta as well. So will you share a little bit with our audience about that?
Yeah, I have an undergraduate degree in industrial engineering, and I got done and I thought, well, it's only a year to go get my master's. And so I trucked on down to Atlanta during the Olympics, actually, when the Atlanta hosted the Olympics. And I got a master's in industrial engineering, and I loved Atlanta. Atlanta's an awesome city.
I love it so much. And what a fun and vibrant time to be here in all that transition and just really see the results of it. So what a fun time for you to be in the city. And it's changed so much since then too. So
Yeah.
well, I love that you started, and you can see for both of us, anyone out there that's watching, we are both strong businesswomen, analytical thinkers who had to think outside of the box and determine that there's more than what they're telling us. And so this is where we both come together. And as Sarah and I met at the Annie Appleseed Conference, and let me just describe this: of we were set in this room and kind of across from each other so I could continue to see her booth. And out of everyone who was in this room, she always had a line. She always had someone there talking to her. And I was like, huh, all right. So she's got something going on. And so at some point, someone missed their appointment or had to go to the bathroom or something happened. And I like strutted over there as fast as I could and like catch. I was like, so Sarah, tell me about what you do. Cause like no one else in the room always had a line. And she kind of looked at me immediately and was like, sit down. And oh man, she was able to dial into me within seconds. And I was like, okay, there's something really cool here. So she did a very quick session with me right on site, right at that moment. And I immediately understood that she could read my energy differently and help me come to consensus and conclusion and really draw through things in a way that I thought had been resolved through all my work, but remained unresolved. So Sarah, it was so cool to meet you just by kind of stalking. I wouldn't say stalking you, but watching you from afar and saying like, what is happening over there? And why are all these people lining up? And then getting to experience it for myself was really cool. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what you put into energy work and what someone like, what's the expectation? What do you do with people?
So when we are working with someone, and that's for me and my team, I have a group of healers that work with me also that I have trained in my own approach, the Lascano method of shifting energy. We tune into the body and we let it talk to us. And that one principle of letting the body guide us and letting it talk to us is incredibly powerful, because then we're not forcing the body to do anything it's not ready to do, anything that it doesn't feel is in priority. And it lets us also get to the root cause of symptoms that may have been eluding us for many, many years, because we're not treating the symptoms. We're actually letting the body share the root cause. And that's more powerful than I can actually put into words. It allows precision, focused, easy healing because we don't have healing reactions. We don't waste time in fluff. We just get right to the heart of the matter, and it doesn't have to be traumatic. It doesn't have to be, it's not therapy. There's no reliving stress in order to heal it. It's just super simple, and we clear the energy that's keeping something agitated and activated, and then it's neutral and it's done.
Oh, Sarah, I want to dig in right there for just a second in a thousand different ways, but let's dig into one of the things that I think is so important, which how do you know you have energy work to be done? And I think this is such a beautiful thing because, I look at data and I'm constantly searching the world for data, understanding what different things can tell me. And one of the things that helped me understand that I had some energy work to be done were some of my emotions. So can you talk to our audience a little bit about that power of emotions?
Yeah, you had this phrase that I absolutely love, which is emotions can be barometers of our health.
Yes.
They
Yes.
really are, because how we are feeling is a direct result of what is within us that needs to be worked through.
Yeah.
So, my favorite term is triggering. When we get triggered, it means that something is getting touched, some kind of pain is getting touched that we need to work through. There's unresolved energy there. And the universe is bringing us those experiences to try to work through it and address it and break free of it. And so triggering is absolutely a barometer. It is telling us that we might have unexpressed anger simmering in our nervous system, or we might
Yes.
have fear even from our family, from our young childhood, or shame or guilt, whatever the emotion is, whatever you're feeling in that triggered moment it's a road sign that's saying, pay attention to me for a moment. There's something here. Yeah, I'm going to
Totally,
get
like, warning, warning, pay attention. Like, now I'm like, whoa, okay, this is giving me data. Why am I freaking out right now?
That's
Yeah,
right. Before the train wreck happens, right? Because the lesson has to get louder. The message has to get louder and louder if we don't pay attention.
exactly. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about trauma because I know that sometimes these fears, traumas, the emotions, the shames can actually be stored in our body. So, can you talk at all about how that happens?
Yeah, sure. And so the number one rule here is your body is an amazing storage site. We don't realize that. Okay, we think that our mind is completely separate from our body, and it couldn't be farther from the truth.
Yeah,
We are an integrated system. We're a system of body, of mind, of soul, of energy. It's one big system. And from systems theory, if you're a scientist, you
yeah,
can't isolate one part of a system without affecting the entire system. So any disharmony, dis-ease in any part of the system will affect the entire system. So when we have energy that is unresolved, emotion, think of a trauma, an emotion that was bigger than you could handle at the time. That's our definition.
yeah,
Bigger than we could handle. We have to protect our psyche, and so we have to shove it somewhere. And so the body's a really safe place to put it away, almost like a closet. Hide it away in the closet, keep my nervous system from exploding if I'm 12 and I'm absolutely so angry that I could hit my parent. But if I hit my parent, I'm going to be in very big trouble. So I have to suppress that emotion. It gets stored. Well, there comes a time later in our life where we need to process that and unload it. And so that's when things start getting triggered. So when we have unresolved emotion, we store it in the body, and then that can appear in a bunch of different ways. It can appear as an emotion, it can appear as a symptom,
yeah,
it can appear as inflammation. It can appear in a variety of different ways depending on what we have going on in our life at the moment.
for sure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this is a hard part. Like, what part of my health journey was unearthing these moments so that my body could be in harmony, could not be in dis-ease, because all of this was part of that healing the root causes of how I get my body working in peak performance to really become a cancer fighting machine. So this became a priority for me to start to figure out where these energy blockages were. And I think for me, they were very palpable. And I mean this exactly, where I went to my chiropractor and he put his hands over my back and I told no one where my cancer was. And he goes, we have an energy blockage right here and right here. And that's exactly where the cancer was in my body, in my neck and my spine. So I think was physical for some people, it was emotional, it was all of these things, but we had to work on getting this energy flowing. And so for me, there was a very physical effort, and that was literally chiropractic and dance and movement and flow, but there was also an energetic component as well. So let's talk about why someone in their health journey really needs to be thinking about how they release these traumas and create this energy flow in a really beautiful and healthy way.
Yeah. So this is the rub, folks. Your nervous system regulates and controls your immune system.
Yeah.
And your immune system is what's responsible for any kind of chronic symptom or disease or situation that's bothering you. There's some kind of immune dysfunction, most likely. Okay. Maybe with a few exceptions. But if we're talking cancer, we're talking food sensitivities, we're talking Lyme infections, strep, we're talking immune dysfunction. And so we have to unwind the interference, the lack of coherence in the nervous system in order to repair the immune system. We cannot be in rest and digest, which is where we're going to do our healing, if we don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Or it's just impossible. You can't get there from here. It's just impossible. So if we want to get to the root cause, if we want long-lasting healing, if we want to not just treat symptoms, we must unwind the interference in our nervous system that is dysfunctioning our immune system. Now, all parts of the body hold stress and tension. Trauma can get stored in muscles, it can get stored in organs, it can get stored in certainly our nervous system is almost always affected. But you get the idea. We need to unload so that our immune system can be in harmony and balance. And when we do that, that's when we feel in flow. That's when we feel relaxed. That's when we can meditate. That's when we can get good sleep, restorative sleep, because we're not on edge. That's when we are down regulated.
So one of the natural health defense systems, and I think, our body and our research, we have 10,000 cancer cells potentially a day, and we have these beautiful systems that release the cancer from our body and protect us. And one of those systems is intuition. And this is a really tricky one because intuition, when we're in fight or flight, isn't our friend. But we have to be down regulated. We have to be in this place where we're grounded in order for that to be a true defense system. So we literally are putting ourselves at risk or in a disadvantage by not allowing our body to really relax and become in flow state.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I like to think of it as noise. I like to think of it as static.
Yeah.
So if your mind is agitated, your nervous system is tense, it's generating static, which is at best masking your intuition, and at worst, it's polluting it with our mental baggage. So then we sometimes don't know what's true or not true. So yeah, we quiet that noise and static. That intuition comes through nice and crystal clear. And I'm very passionate about teaching people to do that for themselves. We all have the ability to do that.
It is wild when you start to tap into it and start to listen to yourself. I knew so much. I knew no science. That was the joke. I was like, I don't know why I know I need to measure treatment efficacy, but I know without fail, this is important. And when the doctor said, oh, honey, that's not how we do it, I knew that was enough reason for me to find a new doctor. So there was this message deep inside of me that was so strong that no, we measure treatment effectiveness. And then you look at my data and you're like, oh, actually, yeah, we measure treatment effectiveness. So it becomes very clear how we can use intuition to our advantage when we have this ability to ground. But sometimes it's actually ourselves, I would say most times perhaps, it's actually ourselves that block our ability to get into this free flow grounded state. So Sarah, what are some of the things that we do to block ourselves from being successful in achieving this?
Well, we are products of our past, so we do carry the past that we were unable to process at the time, as we talked about earlier. So some of what happens to us is a direct result of programming. Maybe you were told in your childhood that intuition isn't legit. You had an imaginary friend, it was shut down. So we have programming that that's not okay, that it's not reliable, that you can't trust yourself. These are some of the patterns that we unwind in order to just get crystal clear flow with our intuition.
Yeah.
We also have stress. We have physiological stress, right? If the nervous system is under stress, if our adrenal axis is fried, if we're in burnout, if we're spending a lot of time on screens and don't have any downtime and quiet for ourselves to restore,
Yeah.
we're going to contribute to noise. Keeping the mind busy is the biggest block to intuition, whether that's something that's a physical imbalance in the body or an emotional imbalance. So we have a variety of mental, emotional, and energetic stressors that we can control some of these with our lifestyle choices. We can start creating restorative time that will start it'll start chipping away at the noise and allow that signal to start being easier to hear.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the patterns and things that you see when you look at people who are trying to release trauma through talk therapy, which, for the record, guys, it didn't work for me. I'm an industrial psychologist. I can train my brain to do all kinds of things. And in fact, when I was in treatment, I would go to my therapist and I would go with an entire story and be like, here was the situation. Here's what the action I took. Here was what I decided. Here's what my shadow thought. And I'd bring it to her and she finally looked at me and she goes, I think we're done here. So talk therapy just doesn't work for me because I can convince myself of 1,000 different things, but I need to release trauma. And so when I met you, I was like, oh, this is amazing. But and I'm having a hard time to figure out the words, but do you have the words to help people understand what is the difference between talk therapy and energy healing?
Yeah. So talk therapy is using the mental and emotion, the mind, right? When we're talking to someone, we're engaging. It's using the mind to explore some emotion that you might have, that you might be aware of, right? Because you can't really delve into something that you don't really know exists. So there's one major gap there, is that we can't access the subconscious mind very well unless your therapist does hypnotherapy
Yeah.
or, some other intuitively guided tool. But talk therapy itself is trying to use the mind to access energy, emotional energy that is stored in the body and disrupting it.
Yeah.
And there are tools like EMDR, and EFT even, and many others. But some of those really require us to relive the trauma that we are trying to clear. So I remember I did EFT on my own birth trauma, and I spent 2 hours reliving this very unpleasant situation that I had, and I left feeling exhausted and drained, and the full trauma wasn't fully released anyway, but I made a little progress, but it was very painful. And so when we're working with energy, we can tap into that subconscious mind. We call it the innate wisdom, the part of us that knows how to heal. We tap in and listen to that, and it can show us where that trauma is stored. It can even share the different emotions that might be wrapped up in it. Maybe it's not all just fear. Maybe there's shame and fear and grief all balled up together in a complex web of energy that is anchoring some event from your past. And that's the typical situation.
Yeah.
And so when we tap into that body and that innate wisdom, it can share where that is stored and we can neutralize it. We can even ask if that's all of it. So we have tools that we can use to identify what might be hiding from your conscious mind. And then it doesn't become a mental exercise, it becomes an energetic one of neutralizing the charge that's disrupting the body.
Yeah. So let's dig into that. So, how does that exactly happen in your perspective? What is the experience of working with you like from your perspective? And then, if it's okay, Sarah, I'd love to explain what the experience was like from my perspective next.
Okay. Yeah. So when we work with someone, we are literally using our finely honed intuitive skills to tune into the body and ask, where is something that's blocking your health?
Yeah.
And we follow that trail and we neutralize. We use our focused intention. This is what focused energy medicine is about, is using a focused um, intention to neutralize energy, to think of it as something that is lighting up, and we're taking away the power from it so it no longer lights up. You can think of this in your own life. If you have a memory that gives you a zing, right? Like maybe an embarrassing memory. If
Mhm.
you think of a memory and you have a zing of emotion, maybe shame, maybe regret, that is activated energy and that needs to be neutralized. It's somehow affecting your body if it's activated. Okay, so we go in and we neutralize the energy on that memory. The memory doesn't go away. You still have the memory, you don't have amnesia,
Yeah.
but you don't have that emotional zing. That is neutralized. And that's what we want. We want neutral, no energetic charge on these situations that are disturbing the body.
Yeah. So I think now hearing you say that, it makes me even more excited to share my experience because, well, let me set it up that I met with Sarah at the Annie Appleseed conference and we had a in-person session, but we recently had a virtual session as well. And I set us up for success because I was at my hometown beach with my feet in the sand when we were having this conversation. So if there was a moment of healing to be happening, it was when I was watching the ocean, seeing dolphins frolicking in front of us. So it was a really good setup of where we could be. But the reality is, I was handling some really tough emotional stuff. And so I needed to have this session and I needed to be cleared. And the reality is, in my mind, is I tend to replay a story 1,000 times, looking for data I didn't see before of why did this go awry or why did this happen and what could I have done differently and what is this and what does this need to teach me? And so I'm constantly looking to learn and explore and grow because I think a mistake is only an opportunity to level up. So I'm constantly examining it. But the reality is that energy I take to examine it 1,000,000 times over is not productive. So by meeting with you, you were able to help me get to the nut of the feeling of the root of why this was hurting me, what this was, name it. So I didn't have to continue to think about it anymore. I could simply accept it for what it was and move forward. And that experience of helping me stop the churn and just go straight to the wow. And we see that you feel betrayal, or we see you feel this, see you feel shame. Let's remove that. And it was exactly what I felt. I couldn't get to that word though. So, Sarah, it was for me so helpful to zoom into the stories I told myself and what the root of those were. And I just can't thank you enough for
You're welcome. Yeah. And you're not atypical. We create all kinds of stories
that.
about what we have experienced, and those stories, the research shows that 80% of what we think every day is the same as the day before. And about that same amount is negative. So we have assigned all these stories through our conditioning that are driving our life. They are driving the way we move through our life. And so if we are afraid, if we are anxious,
Yeah.
if we're afraid that we screwed up, if we're feeling bad, oh my gosh, I messed up, I did something wrong, it's probably because of a story from your past. And so, as we clear these belief systems and thought programs, we neutralize them and they release their hold on us. And it is honestly like winning the lottery. It's freedom for sure.
I love that. It is like winning the lottery because you don't have to ruminate anymore on all the crazy. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is a question that, okay, so in my healing journey, I went into it and I was very lucky. I flew blind and just kind of did some stuff and it kind of worked. But one of the things I really did that worked was I leaned into joy. And this is not something that most people do, but I really leaned into trying to not live in fear, fight or flight, and live in an action state of joy. And that meant for me, I had two advantages. I had industrial psychology and I could throw a theme party. So I literally threw a theme party when I would go to my infusions, get dressed up and bring gifts and buffets and costumes and things like that, because then I could control the frequency and I could heal in the frequency of joy versus the frequency of what felt like death. So,
Brilliant.
yeah, talk to me a little bit about like, how does joy play into this in your world? I just did that because that's what felt right to me. But what is the science, or what can you talk to us a little bit about joy and how important that is for our listeners?
There's an amazing body of science to support what you did, and if anyone has heard of the Heart Math Institute, you can go look up some of their research.
Yeah.
But joy is the primary emotion of the heart, right? When the heart is where we feel joy and love,
Yeah.
and that heart is governing the immune system. partially through the thymus gland. But when we feel stress, it suppresses our immune system. When we feel joy and contentment and peace and love, it's boosting the strength of our immune system. So if we want our immune system to be in full expression, healthy expression, we need to find a way to minimize our stress and maximize feeling good. And that, other people call that self-love.
Yeah.
I think joy is the right term. It's feeling good about ourselves, about what's happening, feeling protected, feeling guided. You can attach all kinds of different spiritual constructs to it, but joy is what nourishes that immune system.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like I was able to do so much healing so quickly in my body because that is what I personified. I even watched superhero movies when I was diagnosed because I just wanted to pretend I had the magic inside of me to heal. And it was at some point I would look every day in the mirror and say, you have the magic inside of you. And one day I had the magic inside of me. And so I feel like this is one of these things that we can just create our body, this physiology that starts to match because we are all aligned and rowing in the same direction. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just trying to look at some of the questions I had listening for it. So for someone who's deep in treatment, how can this begin to support them because oftentimes most people aren't getting dressed up and bringing gifts and all the craziness to their treatment because they're actually not feeling well because their bodies are in dis-ease and disharmony. So this is one of the things that we can do to pull our body and give ourselves more energy throughout the experience. But talk to this for someone who is deep in the throes of chemo or radiation or some sort of treatment that's just got them down. Why would this be valuable for them?
This is super valuable because what we're doing is we're finding what is keeping your mind from being able to focus on joy, and we are clearing it. So maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's worry, maybe it's shame, maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's just feeling that you have failed. You're a perfectionist, and maybe it's just feeling discouraged and that you're not making any progress. All of those emotions are barriers to joy. And so if we want to improve outcome, we have to get the mind aligned with feeling good and that healing is possible. And so that requires some unwinding for most of us. I mean, not everybody, but most of us do have some level of that within us. As we do that, we're actually strengthening the body, so we're improving the results of treatment. We're minimizing side effects. And we do see that in our cancer patients. We see minimization of side effects, instantly having better appetite, instantly having more energy, even with all the after meds or allergic reactions or, whatever might be happening, we can improve those things by working with the body's energy and aligning with feeling good. And it's not just a mental exercise. We're removing the barriers so that it's actually possible.
It is I think that's so important because when we are not in coherence, and I think this is it was the big aha for me because I thought this was a little bit like when I was diagnosed, I was like, cool, I'm not going to see my therapist. I'm not going to see my dentist. Got this. I'm just going to focus on the body. Like, this is all I need. And then as I started to unwind this and understand what stress actually does, what trauma actually does, and I had a pretty high stress career where I was busy and traveling and this and that and in and out of relationships. And I mean, it was a stressful time in my life. So I had to begin to unwind all of these different things. And as I did, I slept differently. As I did, I felt differently. As I did, I reacted differently. I had a lot more resilience. And I began to realize, okay, this energy stuff that we just define as if it's no big deal actually has an incredible ability to help me actually settle. And so that's what started me on this path to say, like, there's more here. And I have a podcast with psychoneuroimmunologist, Dr. Brenda Stockdale. She talks a lot about the power of this, but she doesn't talk about how we get there in the same way that you and I have. And I want to say, I don't mean to be a dork, but I just love your book. And so I want to mention this really quickly. The Hidden Force Within. This is one of the things that Sarah was kind enough. We kind of, at the end of the session, at the end of Annie Appleseed, we both knew we liked each other. And I kind of walked over and I was like, well, here's my book. And she's like, well, hold on, here's my book. Let's stay in touch. But on the way home, I started reading the book and I was like, uh, oh, wait a minute. This is how we listen to our body. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. This is why my emotions are important. Oh, all of these things that I kind of thought knew, you've written and explored. So I could actually start to connect with these ideas and really, solidify this in thinking. So in my mind, the reality is that we have disconnected energy from the body simply because we couldn't quantify or measure it. And yet it's no less important than any of the other things we would do, from nutrition or environment or things. It is truly one of the instruments that we have to focus on. So Sarah, are there some ideas that you would have for the folks that are listening at home that they can do right now that'll help them either release some trauma or ground or do something that'll help them reconnect with their energy?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to say really quickly that your doctor checks your energy system every single time you go see him. He's checking your heart. He's checking your brain. EEGs are checking the energy system of your brain. EKGs are checking the energy system of your heart. Nerve conduction studies are checking the energy flow through your nervous system. So this is not something that we don't know exists. We've been doing that for over 100 years,
Yeah.
and we have plenty of scientific research to prove that this type of healing, it has been studied. Remote healing has been studied, and it has been shown to extend lifespan and decrease side effects and increase joy. So it's not so out there. There's plenty of research to
Perfect.
back it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Tips or tricks? You were going to give us one tip or trick for someone at home, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Remember that what you are feeling is a barometer.
Yes.
And if you can just allow yourself to connect to it for just a tiny little bit, like I'm talking 15 seconds here, you can actually move energy for yourself by allowing that emotion to process and leave your body. And sometimes that might just be holding a sensation in the body. It might not even be an emotion.
Yeah.
Or a thought, holding a thought in your awareness. What I mean by that is being with it without trying to distract it or get it to go away. Okay, that's what I mean by holding. Holding means allowing it to be there.
Yeah.
When we allow something to be there, we allow the energy to move. We allow it to start to release. And it's that simple. It can be that simple. It's not always that simple, but a lot of times it is. Up to 80% of the time, it's that simple. So, my first recommendation is just ask yourself right before you go to bed. You lay down, you're ready to go to sleep. Give yourself less than 2 minutes. What does my body want to tell me? What does it want to share? And then just let it be. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to do anything to it. Just notice it and feel it and allow it to be there. And it's going to start releasing. You will start unburdening your energy immediately from just that simple practice. And you'll also learn a lot about your body. Your body will have an opportunity to talk to you.
I love that you just said that, because I didn't realize how important that was. But I've been doing a body scan when I go to sleep, where I like just imagine like all the different parts and like imagining the electricity flowing to the different parts of my body, and where am I seeing differences and just shifting how I sleep or how I move. Or it's been insane to just start to let myself go to sleep by doing a body scan and seeing where I feel. So I love that that's your recommendation, because I've already been doing my freebie. And I would encourage that for everyone out there, as it is just such an easy thing to unwind, especially as we're trying to release the day and just check in with our different parts of our body. And I always get stuck in my hips, and I think that's pretty typical for women. So I end up wiggling in bed, and as soon as I do, I feel it release and I can finally go to sleep. So it's like such a gift when you really start to understand how to just simply move and flow with your energy.
Yeah, and you're going to sleep better because of
Mhm.
that. You're going to be grounded because you are getting out of the head and into the body, and that's grounding into the body. And so, yeah, it's going to help boost your sleep.
Okay, so now I'm sure a lot of people think like, oh, cool, I did this energy work once, good to go. But we both know that this is not something that is kind of a one and done. So what does it typically look like? And I think the answer is probably it never ends. But let's go ahead and see, like, what does this typically look like? Because I think I'm going to be working on energy forever. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so I actually do believe that we can get to a point where we're in flow. We experience life, we get triggered, we feel difficult emotions or difficult moments, and we let it move through us, and then it's over. And so we're not accumulating any energy disruptions. Our
Yeah.
blockages are easy to deal with at that point, and that's really where we want to get to. We're never going our destination is not to never have stressful moments because we're human. We're going to have those.
Yeah.
But our goal is to get to a point where we can just move with life and let it move through us rather than creating energy blockages. In order to get there, we need to clear out the backlog, really, is what we need to do. So
Okay.
we help people do that with programs, healing programs. We have self-help digital tools, and we have classes. And we're teaching people, well, we're finding where their system is blocked and making it hard for them to live in that flow state, and helping move that energy so that they can get there. And
Yeah.
then we're also teaching them how to do that for themselves, so that we're giving them the tools and the skills so that when stress comes along, we're empowered and we know what to do with it, so that we're not creating new energy blockages as we go through every difficult moment that comes up.
So, sorry, you just said something that I wanted to hit on and I just forgot it for just a second. Oh, okay. Yes. So you and I had a one-on-one session, which I loved, but I also love that you do some group sessions. And that helped because not only could I learn from what's going on in my life, but I could learn from others. So will you talk a little bit about what the experience is like one-on-one versus in a group?
Yes. So our one on one is really about going deep. You have an immediate issue. You want to go deep. You don't want to waste time. You want one on one, customized, individual attention. And that's our one on one programs. Many people don't have the time for that. They don't want to go that deep. They want to explore, and they don't have such an immediate pressing need. So in those cases, or for whatever reason, we have a digital program called the Coherence Lab, and it's such a fun program because it's got two aspects. It's got an aspect of self-help tools where you can listen to energy moving sessions that are digital anytime you want. So you're equipped with this amazing self-help library of over 40 digital sessions. um, and then you also have the ability to come into a group healing session twice a month, and a blueprint learning experience once a month. So we've got lots of touch points to be live with us, either receiving healing, and we go through the room and do mini balances. Well, I do mini balances for attendees. So, and we all benefit from all of it. It's so heartwarming to see the themes that come up, that we're all going through some of the similar situations, and it all benefits us. So it's really a fun program of all of those different types of learning, experiencing, getting your questions answered live, and then having self-help resources.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So I love that you have a range of options. So depending on where someone is and how much work they've done beforehand, they can really find the right place within your system. Now, you also do some seminars, I think, as well. Is that right? And maybe there's one this summer. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I remember there's something coming up maybe in June that I really want to sign up for. So talk to us more about that.
So I'm really passionate about teaching people how to listen to their body
Yeah.
and what to do with what they connect with. So I love to teach people that we all have the ability to tune in and listen to our body and let it talk to us and receive wisdom from it. Direction. What should I do? What should I do next? Where should I focus? We all have that ability. I love to teach people how to do it with very grounded, practical techniques. I'm an engineer after all. I
Yeah.
love to have things be super methodical and simple. So we have a class that really talks about how to listen to our body's signal and master it. And then what to do with that information. We have a second class that takes you through, how do I move the energy? What do I do with the information that I receive? And then we have a practitioner level class too. So
Awesome. And I'm assuming all this information's on rayzenenergy.com. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Perfect.
Yes.
So for anyone who's out there, just know that the QR code that's in the corner, that's actually for Rayzen Energy. So please go there when you can. All right, Sarah, I've got a question from another Sarah, and I love this one. And it is, what are your thoughts on people who need silence when their internal noise is high versus those who can use external noise to quiet the internal noise? So anything there that you'd have a reflection or something to think about around. And I love that I'm actually one of those people that you put me in the loudest concert, and that's when my mind is actually the most focused, and I can actually hear and receive in the easiest way. So the external environment, very quiet, actually makes me unnerved and I cannot barely hear it. If I'm listening to music, often, especially classical music, I can get to something so quickly. So I think I'm actually one of those people who likes the noise, but tell us more about what you think.
Interesting. So, yeah, we all have different comforts. We all have different triggers. We all have different distraction vices, if you
Yeah.
will. So, we have to learn enough about ourselves to notice, we have to get wise enough to notice, when am I keeping myself from doing the work I need to do?
Yeah.
Right. So, when am I playing computer games or checking the news instead of listening and meditating?
Yeah.
Or what do I need to be my best? What type of activity is restorative for me? I actually had to learn that. I was raised in a very performance, achievement oriented home, and a lot of downtime wasn't okay. Like, we stayed busy.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't know how to restore my energy. I knew how to do things for my health. I knew how to get in a sauna. I knew how to take a detox bath. I knew how to prepare healthy foods, but none of that was restorative really. And so I had to learn what is restorative to me. And so we have to learn what our body needs in order to process energy that needs to leave, to hear messages that need to be heard, and then to create that space where restoration is possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's really individual, as we just heard. So, I need quiet. I need complete quiet in order to hear. So, we all have different all 3 of those categories can be different for all of us, and so I really think it's a journey of learning about ourselves.
I would be interested. I don't know this for anyone else, but I think for my ADHD brain, for me, if I have a white noise machine, I can focus it immediately. Without it, I can hear every ticking thing and I'm all over the place. So I sometimes wonder if that's what it is, that it just allows my brain to quiet by having one frequency busy. Who knows?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, we've got another question. Oh, I love, Gail, that you need it quiet too. Michael just shared and asked if you would mind narrating one more time how we can identify a block and release it. I think you mentioned earlier, as we're doing our mental scan, if there's something we can do to help release it. Was there some tip that you gave that would be helpful?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. I wanna share a real simple three-step process,
Yeah.
okay? So that'll make it crystal clear. Listen to your body, connect to something. So we're gonna call it notice.
Yeah.
Notice what's going on in your body. The second step is to allow it to be there. Don't try and think it away. Don't try and rationalize it away. Don't try to figure out how to make it go away. That's all fixing. Fixing only latches onto the problem more deeply. It took me 20 years to learn that. You're welcome. So, notice, allow, and then let it move. Just open to allow it to leave. The Buddhists call this inviting it to tea, right? The idea is invite your problem to tea, and when it's done with its tea, it's going to get up and leave. You actually don't have to kick it out, it will leave on its own. And so we're giving it permission to move, we're letting it leave. And this is a process of allowing interference to start shifting on its own. Now, if you're trying to heal a 40-year-old massively entrenched dysfunctional family trauma in this way, it may not work.
Yeah.
But if you have some anxiety that got triggered from something in your day, it might work. So give it a try. Notice, allow, let it go. Very simple.
I like that. I like that. invite it to tea. I'm going to think about that a lot of like, there's a time to have your discussion, you drink your tea and then you're done. So like, this is your tea time with your emotions or whatever's struggling you. I really like that visual. So that's really helpful. So
Great.
All right, Sarah, what am I not asking that's important for folks to know?
You know, I just think it's really important that we all know that we have the power to have a healthy nervous system, to take charge of our health, and to live in joy. Like, we all have that possibility. No matter how far it seems from where you are, I want you to know that that hope is real. It's absolutely possible. And it just requires a little bit of exploration and work and being open to working with your energy. And I know energy seems like, I mean, we are talking about energy more and more in our societies. Got yoga studios everywhere. We've got meditation circles all, I mean, it's wonderful. There's so much more awareness.
Yeah.
It's not that different. It's something that's always been here. It's even studied and acknowledged. There's consciousness research proving these things, these principles. So you owe it to yourself to unravel your nervous system so that you can live in joy and health. And it's absolutely possible.
And so that you can really activate your own champion inside. Because
Yeah.
when we are in fear mode, we are victims. And in order for us to be in achiever, activator, champion, CEO, whatever we want to do, we have to be in this flow mode. So that's the other part of like, we don't want to be weak. We want to be strong. I wanted to be the person who's leading this engine. I had a 14% chance of survival. I was going down my way. And that was exactly my thought of like, well, if I have an 86% chance of failure, I can't mess this up that bad. Let's see what else I can do to make this work. And by activating that champion inside of me, I begin to clear away these traumas, the diet, the nutrition, the environment, all of these things that kept locking me into the life I used to live and helping me find the life I need to live, the life I want to live. And it was such a beautiful thing. And until you go through this, it's hard to think about stage 4 cancer being the biggest gift that I ever had, but it truly was, because I started to strip these things away and started to heal. And it was through meeting people like you that it helped me tap in and really figure out how I can do this. So Sarah, you're one of the people that will be on my healing team for a long, long time. I am grateful beyond measure that our paths crossed at any Appleseed. And I'm grateful that I was attracted to your confidence and your energy and your poise and your professionalism and the line that you had of people who were waiting to hear you. And all of those things made me just kind of take notice and walk over, because I think most of the time I look at energy people and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm so great to meet you, but I don't really understand what you're doing. And you've helped me understand this in a very physical way to say like, oh, this emotion's actually like this barometer. This is something I need to work. Like, it is so beautiful that you've actually helped me make this real. So thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. And your story is just so inspiring. It's just wonderful. It's just so glad we met. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah is someone that I think anyone out there I would recommend working with. She is an organization called Rayzen Energy, which you can find at rayzenenergy.com. We will put in the notes when I post this on YouTube as well, so that you can see our websites as well. If someone would like to reach out to work with me, I do one-on-one consulting with folks and teach people how to build the team they need to succeed. So oftentimes, many of you guys have worked with me. I've talked to you about Sarah and how she's on my team to help clear these energies, especially when I can feel that being one of the blockers in your journey. So this is one of the recommendations that you would hear from me in our consulting organization, where I might tell you to go talk to an oncologist or a naturopathic oncologist, or someone who is working in the quantum physics field like Sarah. So this is all part of the journey and part of the team. And so thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and helping to demystify this for our listeners, so people know how to access real information.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So please stay tuned. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be starting a new podcast called Data in the Dirt with Mr. Trevor Clark. So you'll get to hear our take of me ripping through the data and him ripping through research, especially around herbs and things like that, because the research is so hard to know what to trust, so that you can actually get a real picture on things. So our first episode is going to be on high dose vitamin C. So that'll be Tuesday, April the 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can find us on YouTube. I also will be doing a free live session on Friday, May 1st. This was my 5 power moves I learned to give myself an advantage and build a body that can really activate those natural health defense systems. So if you're interested in coming to learn what those 5 power moves are, please go to beadatag.com, beadatag.com, and sign up for that May 1st session where you can come and learn what you can do to build a body that can fight back. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining. I'm so grateful for everyone who's listening, and we hope that this has been helpful for everyone as well. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.